Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome everyone to Season 2, Episode 71 of the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hopes that we help you prevail throughout the first round of the fantasy playoffs, Week 15, and the rest of the 2022 fantasy football season, and the rest of the fantasy playoffs for 2022. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Joining me is Nick Cap. Nick, we're going into playoff time. This is it's lose or go home for the majority of us. And, it's a scary situation. I don't love a lot of matchups. I don't love the fact that the Bills and the Dolphins might be playing in a foot of snow. This could get really, really messy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an ugly first week of playoffs. A lot of top teams play and like top fantasy options playing those tougher defenses. So,
yep,
good thing you're in the right place for these playoffs.
Oh yeah, I already started. I don't know if you saw it, Nick, but I kind of started our all boom and all bust team, and it's basically my not undefeated anymore. My 13-1 fantasy team is all on the bust list. It's bad. Man. So anyway, all right. We have a fun show for you planned for you today. If it's your first time watching or listening, thank you so much. We do the show on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, plus a live show on Sunday. This is our Thursday show. We give you the news of the week coming out of Tuesday and Wednesday, since we record on Wednesday nights. We'll talk about the practice report from Wednesday. And then we'll give you a preview for Thursday Night Football. Thursday football game tonight is featuring my Seattle Seahawks, who are going to get absolutely mauled by the San Francisco 49ers. It's not going to be a lot of fun. Not looking forward to it, but yeah, that'll be that. We also have that live show on Sundays, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This will be our last Sunday show for the fantasy season. It's going to be 8:30 a.m. this Sunday. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Facebook and YouTube is PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Twitter is PrimeTimeFFPod. For Facebook and going forward for the last two rounds of the fantasy playoffs, they're actually going to be on Saturday. So Christmas Eve and then New Year's Day. It's going to be at 9:30. So don't forget about that. You can listen to us on all audio streaming platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. We'd appreciate that. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show, go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Drop a like on this video. Drop a like on any video that you watch and subscribe to the channel. We'd appreciate that as well. Keep connecting and interacting with us on social media. PrimeTime FFPod on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Then Facebook and YouTube is PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. All right, news and injury stuff. A lot to talk about here. First off, on Monday Night Football, we were recording live when this happened. Kyler Murray tore his ACL. He's now going to be out for your fantasy playoffs. I forget who the backup over there is. The Cardinals. Who is it?
I forget.
Colt McCoy. It's Colt McCoy. It is Colt McCoy. But if you have Kyler Murray, this is a blow. Hopefully you went and picked up like Mike White or Brock Purdy off your waiver wire, but that's a pretty big blow right before the fantasy playoffs. I now have a team that's without Damian Pierce, Cooper Kupp, and Kyler Murray now, plus Cortland Sutton. That team's going down in week 1. That's just the reality of it. It's a shame because it looked really good like 6 weeks ago when I traded for Justin Jefferson, but sucks. Really sucks. If you're a Kyler Murray owner, this sucks. If you're a Hopkins or Marquise Brown owner, I think this gets downgraded. I think the one who gets the biggest upgrade, honestly, is James Conner, but I think everybody else gets a downgrade.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. This is miserable. I mean, obviously last week Kyler went down with the injury. He didn't have a game this year under 15 fantasy points. That's been one of the safest floors for all quarterbacks this entire season. So even though Kyler wasn't giving you the typical ceiling that he usually did, he was consistently hitting a safe floor, and you were always comfortable with your matchup. I mean, Brock Purdy and Mike White, we both like them, but I mean, it's hard to love them, right? Like, it's hard to love.
You would have played Kyler Murray this week over either of them. That's the reality of it.
100%.
So that sucks. Really sucks. I'll skip to this one. Cooper Kupp, McVay said, quote unquote, hard pressed to envision he returns this season as he expected. I think you could drop him now at this point. He was pretty much droppable, but now, yeah, he should be dropped in all leagues. I dropped him this morning. Hunter Renfrow with an oblique injury and Darren Waller with a hamstring have both been designated to return from the IR. I think the Raiders are still in playoff contention, but that loss last week really, really, really hurt them. But the Raiders are getting healthy. Derek Carr is going to have another couple options. So this gives you an opportunity to play Darren Waller for sure. I don't think you should play Renfrow at the moment, especially in the fantasy playoffs. He's not trustable. Yep. Lastly, Dallas Goedert with a shoulder injury has been designated for the 21-day practice window off the IR, which basically means he has to be taken off the IR within 21 days. He hasn't been activated yet, but he can play Sunday against, I forget who they have. Do you remember who they have? I don't remember who they have.
I'll take a look.
I wish I remembered who they had, but the Bears? Is it the Bears? It's the Bears. It's the Bears. They have the Bears. So could be a really good matchup for Dallas Goedert this Sunday. On to injuries. Players that did not practice on Wednesday. Not the biggest deal in the world, but, check in with us on the Friday show and let's see who hasn't practiced yet. And remember, there are 3 Saturday games, by the way. I know the Browns are in one of them. Let's see. The Saturday games are the Colts, Vikings, Ravens, Browns, and Dolphins, Bills. So, and any players that are playing Saturday and did not practice Wednesday, that's an alarm right there. So I'm just going to skim through the list of did not practice. I know Lamar Jackson didn't. That's pretty big. Let's see. Anybody else that I could skim through this list to find? I don't think so. I think the rest. Jeff Wilson didn't practice. That's pretty notable. So pick up Raheem Mostert if he's available. And everybody else looks like a Sunday player. So let's start from the top. Najee Harris with a hip injury. Pat Frymuth with a foot. He did say to a reporter he expects to play. Mr. Limited, Russell Wilson with a concussion, needs some of those nano bubbles. Cortland Sutton with a hamstring. I bet he's out again this week. As I said, Lamar Jackson with the knee. Ramondre Stevenson with the ankle. Trevor Lawrence with a toe. I think he'll play since he played last week. Trayvon Burks with a concussion, still in concussion protocol. Justin Fields had an illness. Has been going around the league the last few weeks. Antonio Gibson with the foot. Chase Claypool with a knee. Brandon Cooks with the calf. And Jeff Wilson with a hip. Anybody you're just worried about on a Wednesday or?
Jeff Wilson, I think, is the big one. But the snow games are typically more favorable to the running back position. But no. I mean, with battling injury, with Mike McDaniel rotating those running backs just like San Francisco does, there's zero confidence in playing him now.
Okay. Limited practice. Kenny Pickett with a concussion. Tyler Boyd with a finger. T. Higgins with a hamstring. Brian Robinson with a quad. Saquon Barkley, he did practice in full, I believe, so I shouldn't have him here with a neck injury. Sometimes it's really tricky to figure out exactly what it is because you'll see 2 conflicting reports. Jacoby Myers with a concussion, Mike White with the ribs, Kadarius Toney with the hamstring, Josh Jacobs with the quad and hand. I think the most notable ones here is that, Kadarius Toney seems like he's going to play this week, and Jacoby Myers also should be off that concussion protocol. T. Higgins looks good to go as well. I'm not sure about Tyler Boyd.
Can I tell you an honest concern of mine?
Sure.
Yeah, we didn't put it in the news segment, but I do think I don't know if it's notable, but it is something to keep your eye out on. The Jets did activate Zach Wilson and have now listed him as the QB2 on the offense.
I did see that, and you want my prediction for Sunday? Mike White's going to get hurt, and Zach Wilson's going to have a great game against the Lions, and he's going to be the starter again.
So that's my fear as someone that's playing Mike White in multiple leagues. The Lions are now the favorite in the matchup. Which is the Jets were like a 7-point favorite for the last 2-3 weeks going into this game. So I am very concerned that Jets go down early. Zach Wilson comes in. But I have stuck on my take. I said, you trust your gut. And my gut told me for the last 3 weeks, Mike White at Lions, Mike White for the playoffs. So I'm not waning, but I do think it is notable and to keep, pay very close attention. It might be more favorable to play a Brock Purdy this week.
I'll be honest. I was going to start Mike White over Joe Burrow, and I can't do that anymore.
Yep, that's fair.
So, I mean, there you go. Full practice. DJ Moore with the ankle. Tyler Huntley with the concussion. Seems like he's going to play. Josh Allen with the elbow. Patrick Mahomes with the hand, and Tyreek Hill with the ankle. They all look good to go. But guess who has Tyreek Hill in one league and Stephon Diggs in the other in the freaking snow game? I'm going to lose everything this weekend. I'm going to lose everything. I have bad matchups all around. It's going to be really, really bad this weekend. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I really needed the bye. Didn't get it. All right, going to move on to Thursday night football. I do got to scroll down because I don't have the little ticker thingy if you're watching if you're watching us on YouTube. There you go. Thursday Night Football preview. Some injuries for Thursday Night Football that I do want to speak about. Kenneth Walker with a foot finished the week strong. He is going to play Thursday against a really, really tough 49ers defense. I would have had him on the all-bus team if we could do it for a Thursday. I think you still got to play him, but it's tough. And then Brock Purdy with an oblique is questionable. He practiced all week. He played through the entirety of the game on Sunday with it. He should be good to go, and he should be a good play. All right, let's move on to those projections. So for Thursday Night Football, Brock Purdy is at 16.2, over under on that.
I'm going to go with the over. Seattle has been awful against quarterbacks over the last few weeks. I don't remember Sam Darnold had a good game, but I do remember Carolina kind of sticking it to him. So I do think San Francisco is well built. I think Brock Purdy can easily smash this number.
Darnold had 11 fantasy points, but I think there were like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns for Carolina in that game.
Yeah, I think Purdy is very playable this week.
Yep, I would play Purdy. I think he hits the over. How about Geno Smith at 16.8?
San Francisco, I think, is number 1 against quarterbacks. If they're not number 1, they're in the top 5 or 7 or whatever. But I'm going to go with the under. I know Geno's been very reliable all year, but this has been the matchup that I think a lot of people have had to fade some of their stars in.
Geno's only game under 13 fantasy points was against San Francisco. He scored 6 week 2. I know this is a little bit of a different Seahawks offense than earlier on in the season, but yeah, I'm going to say under. Christian McCaffrey, 21.9. I'm smashing this over. Seattle's they might be the worst team against the run at this point. I know statistically through the season they're not, but I think right now they're the worst. They're really bad.
I think without Deebo Samuel, the CMC gets the biggest upgrade because he is going to have to be a playmaker for them. So I think CMC's usage is going to be off the chart.
Luckily, I'm not playing CMC this week in any of my leagues, so that's a plus at least. Kenneth Walker at 13.4. I'm just smashing this under. San Francisco's defense is number 1 against the run. I don't want to mess around with it. Kenneth Walker's average, I think, only 2 yards per carry the last 3 or 4 weeks. His last 3 weeks are 13, 16, and 3. And that when he had 16, he had 2 touchdowns. So it's a little bit of a misleading stat line at that point.
I totally agree with you. Kenneth Walker would have absolutely been on the all bus team.
I think he's possibly benchable depending on your running backs.
I would bench him.
It depends on who your running backs are.
If you picked up Jerick McKinnon, I'd play McKinnon over him.
That's tough, man. That's really tough. Okay, Brandon Ayuk at 14.
Another one I'm going to smash the over on. Seattle secondary has kind of fiddled out the back half of the season from how good they were the front half of the season. I think Ayuk is clearly going to be the wide receiver 1 here. I know Shanahan likes to switch it up on us, and every time it feels like you could trust Ayuk, he drops like a goose or something like that. But I don't think it's possible in this matchup for him to be.
I'll say slightly under at 12. Okay. DK. Actually, let's go to Kittle. Kittle at 11.4. I don't think he scored double digits in a couple weeks now. Let's see. Kittle has not scored. Now here's the thing. Kittle hasn't scored over 6 fantasy points in 3 weeks. He had 24 against Arizona, who's really bad against tight ends. He had 3 against the Chargers, and he had 3 weeks before that with over 10. So since the bye week, he's only had 1 game over 6 points out of the last 4. However, Seattle is the second worst team against tight ends. So I'll say the over. Debo's out, obviously, but still, it's like since Purdy took over, I think Purdy's played, 2 games now? He's a combined 10 fantasy points, which isn't good. So,
yeah, I mean, I
think you have to play him, but I'm not expecting him to his projection, honestly. I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm playing him. He probably would have winded up on the all boom team if we're being honest. So,
probably, yeah.
The talent's there. You're gonna have to have your stars step up. During the season and on a short week. There's no way that they're going to instantly plug and play a different receiver to take over a Debo type role. Mm-hmm. On a short week, you will see CMC, Ayuk, and Kittle all go and be useful. I think I took the over on all 4 of San Fran. So
okay,
that's a fun one.
DK Metcalf at 16.
I'm going to go slightly under. I do still think he's been pretty consistent this year. I think he only has 4 games under double-digit points. I do still think he's playable. I think the game script's going to call for a lot of passing. And if Kenneth Walker is not moving the ball on the ground, they're going to have to abandon the run game. I know it's Pete Carroll's nature, but they're going to be forced out of it against that San Fran front 7.
If he doesn't have a touchdown, he's hitting the under. Tyler Lockett at 14.2. He's been very consistent, but I'm going to say the under here too. I think Seattle gets watched. I think it's going to be a really, really bad game for my Seahawks.
I think both the receivers go under, but I do think they're going to hit the double-digit points. If they find the end zone, that gets them over the projection.
Yeah, possible. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. It was our Thursday one for week 15, leading into your first round of your fantasy playoffs. If you enjoyed it and you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate that as well. Make sure to check back with us tomorrow. It's our big Friday show to lead you into this weekend full of fantasy fun in the playoffs, all boom, all bust teams, flex on them, injury news to get you ready for the weekend. We'll also have our live show Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. I want to answer all of your fantasy questions. We can go to 9:30, 10, whatever we want to do. However many questions you guys want to ask. Hopefully you join us. Facebook and YouTube, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. Twitter is PrimeTimeFFPod. Thank you guys for checking out with us. Thank you for listening, and enjoy Thursday Night Football tonight, as I will